Eraupa Abaeta. My prayers to Guaraci have been heard, and the Tupi are here. So take a seat with me. It's time for the first chapter of Stories of the Jungle, favela warfare against the French. And the story starts with Exodus, where our intrepid leader is being pushed out of Paranapuá Island by his big rival, Cunhambebe.
Named Cunhambebe.
Wait, it's pronounced Cunhambebe? That means butthole doesn't drink in Portuguese. Anyway, unlike what Arariboia thought, this invasion is a lot stronger than before, and salvation can only come from escaping the island. Similar to the end of Leloi's mountain fort, we must make sure the citizens of Maracajá make the route out of the island, all 20 of them, and maximum 14 can be killed. Our starting base is meager and attacked from the beginning, but at least we have a castle to defend ourselves. Because the flow of refugees is constant, we escort the first one to clear the way from threats towards the exit point, and another refugee immediately appears, every 2 minutes, which means the scenario has an initial hard cap of 43 minutes if we follow the objective. Jungle life. The enemy has a hard-on for ambushes, so we start building towers along the road to spot the cu de cachorro coming. The scenario is very fast-paced already. 11 minutes we engage the enemy 5 times. A Tupi warrior comes with the news of a captured ally village, and we are given our first secondary objective in liberating them. But they'd have to wait, for our own villagers being hunted was a bigger priority. The Tupi flag is a beach umbrella. Way to break stereotypes, Microsoft. Reaching Castle Age gives us access to Blackwood Archers, who are trained in pairs, can have poison arrows, and I already can't wait to raise Butthole doesn't drink to the ground with them. The same Tupi warrior from before comes back to tell us that our enemy has captured some supplies south of us, our second side quest of the scenario. Thank you, Mr. Tupi warrior, we'll get on it right away. It's just a sea tower in the swamp, so we pull it down without any issues. And this time, our leader, Arariboia, comes with a quest, lighting up the refugees' path for visibility and protection with outpost. For visibility and protection with outpost. Protection with outpost. Outpost. Good thing I was already building towers around the area. Sadly, the system wasn't flawless yet, and we lost our first refugee. Kawa was a good man, and we moved to the captured tribe to free the villagers and avenge his death. Upon liberating them, we are given the option to either send them to the front lines or to the mines, because oppression never ends, just changes hands. Soldiers felt like a superior option, but the females of the tribe were given to us as villagers anyways, so the gold mines were neglected. Because the game didn't count the towers we had previously built, we ordered yet another one in the market spot, this time even closer to the flag. Why are you not mining? I didn't free you from tyranny for you to be incompetent. The enemy continuously launches attacks on a refugee avenue, forcing the army to be on the move at all times, reinforcing the need for the towers to be built. But why are the objectives not being completed? I thought at the time, because I'm an illiterate retard who mistook towers for outposts. But not as much as whoever made the boundary for the side quest without showing where they are, or giving a clear size for it, which, by the way, is this. 2 tiles. But now I knew, and building outposts became a trivial task. Just as I thought I was done with the side quests, Arariboia graces me with one that would actually make a difference. Some refugees were captured, which could speed up our quest considerably. Since it's deep inside Butthole doesn't drink space, we go on a technology shopping spree. You know, resources aren't an issue when you play this badly. The enemy comes for an assault just as we begin pushing north, which is great because this way we could just push it and never mind it's heavily fortified, and we can use the side entrance. Forgot to mention, but the outposts reveal all the enemy routes, which makes life so much easier. Up north, I forgot about the refugee rescue crew, and they all died. But after dealing with the following attack, we march on again for liberation. Pushing in without dealing with the fortifications was scary, but with a bit of a coconut oil, anything can sleep in. And we rescued the refugees after breaking their cage. Sneaking them out also wasn't an issue, and we managed to have all 4 on the way towards freedom. We had already rescued 18 out of 20, so 2 weren't necessary. But I can't complain, the Maracajá were saved, and in 44 minutes and 50 seconds, less than 2 minutes over the initial golden time I mentioned in the beginning. With some planning, this can be brought down to 35 minutes easily. Alright, because I ran out of space on my computer, the first 10 minutes of Seeds of Vengeance were corrupted. But it wasn't anything too great, just like my performance in this scenario. So we're gonna run my incompetence, since I couldn't run the scenario. We picked the starting location closest to the Portuguese for safety. Then the savages arrived by sea, and I placed towers to defend my people. Then the savages arrived by land, and by sea again, and I built a castle to defend the ducks. Their attacks were relentless, so I built another castle to block their way. Then we set sail to waste a bit more time doing this, and also this. About an hour in, I realized we weren't going anywhere and tried to organize an army to check how things were with Butthole doesn't drink, and wasted more time walling the shallows, and watching my villagers die into anacondas. The enemy had walls, so we had to get creative to get in and waste the whole army. But the military-industrial complex of the Guanabara was almost up and running, so sending another platoon to die in the same way took no time. We believe in third time's the charm, and it seemed to be the case. Shit was crumbling, the army holding, and when stuff started dropping by itself, we knew Kunambebe was gone. And so was the scenario, in a shameful 1 hour 44 minutes and 27 seconds. Don't worry, I deleted a lot of my Joan of Arc porn, so their storage space won't be an issue anymore. The arrogance of the French expeditions knew no bounds, and we are forced to play a scenario with their name on it. Although beating them in their scenario should taste like coffee beans dipped in chocolate. Seriously, try this shit, it's addicting. But anyway, the French shouldn't be too big of a whoa, what is this building? Did the French get a new castle? It looks sick. It seemed like this would be a naval campaign, so we reluctantly complied. Can't forget to send my entire starting army to Autoscout. Ah, what a fantastic way to review the map without doing anything. One of our explorers finds a village in need of help to repair their damaged ships, and helping them joins the long list of important objectives. Jungle life. Just kidding, we went to help the defenseless immediately, because as certain as military allies are useless, economic ones at least help our economy. And you know, the only thing needed was a transport ship and fixing their fishing ships beached across the bay. Death by anaconda, such is life in the jungle. Because the dickhead senses were tingling, we plotted a castle in front of our base, and I gotta say, I'm getting pretty good at Nostradamusing. The Baguette Trading Company wouldn't stop sending waves of cannon fodder, so drastic measures were taken on the way to Imperial Age. Our two good friends had to take a little break from the fight and left us with another side objective until their return. It felt pointless to fight the French alone, so we focused on defending the position while the Navy cleared their docks. The French are not well known for their naval capabilities, and we couldn't be happier for this here. Another castle was built to strengthen the camp, because the French push did not seem to slow down. Oh, never mind, destroying docks hinders military production. It's kind of a bitch to destroy docks using war galleys, but it does the job. Back at base, the European armor was difficult to stop, but we always had two tricks up our sleeve: Brazilian hospitality and a complete disregard for rules and organization. Oh my god, you're French, can we take a picture? Get stabbed, fucker, welcome to the favela. They could have sent the entire French army, the stabbings wouldn't stop. We continued destroying their docks and start planning a reverse colony for their gold mines. I gotta give it to them here, they are relentless. Something we were hoping to reverse by destroying their docks somehow? Really? Can someone tell me how destroying docks makes horses give birth slower? After 20 minutes of pain, Mendesa comes back and hides behind me in the jungle. Welcome back, buddy. Can you help me deal with this now? You're not helping the stereotype of the lazy South American, you know. The enemy's docks lined the ocean in a triumphant victory for Arariboia, and as a reward, we sent the rest of the navy to pester their base from the water. Everything is fine and breezy back home still. The Tugas were offended that I called them useless and went on the offensive, which gave me breathing room to upgrade the army a bit. Gotta say, never thought I'd fight side by side with the Portuguese.
What about side by side with a friend?
You, no, fuck off, colonizer. With the extra space, we started sending troops to reclaim the Portuguese fort. The French didn't like that idea, but we marched on anyway, slowly tearing down Kunambebe's army, until Nicholas, being the dipshit he is, came with cavalry. Little did they know, I wasn't expecting much from it anyways, for siege was needed to break through their defenses fully. Strong siege weapons. The strongest siege weapons, because we might eat people, but we know the importance of still cladding our battering rams, as written in the book of Guaraci, the sun god, chapter 69. Praise be to Guaraci, my son, who trains my rams for war, with his throbbing cocks of steel. Just kidding, that's a quote from the Bible. Almost. Our steel-clad behemoths brought panic to Butthole Doesn't Drink, and he threw everything he had at us. In response, we leveled the little infrastructure he had taken from the Portuguese, while we made way towards the inner keep. It wasn't easy clearing the way in such tight spots in a star fort, but the fortress was recaptured. Whoa, who's the sore loser? Yes, you are. Can we take a minute to appreciate that the devs have added a star fort to a campaign? There's a reason why these were feared at sieges, and it shows well here. The corridors to the inner keep are fucking scary. While the brave warriors rested in the newly captured Portuguese fort, a new battalion marched down for the first assault on the Frog Eaters. I'm starting to run out of insults for the French. Foyer gross, people? Jambombu retards? With massed Blackwood Archers, the feeble and weakened creme fraiche of Europe was wide open for the Rams to start plowing through their buildings, and as hard as they tried to stop the jungle war machine, Durant's fort collapses alongside his chances of capturing Guanabara Bay with ease. Terribly named scenario done, in 1 hour, 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Had I not played it safe, this could have been a quick one to beat. The fourth part of the Cursed Alliance saga begins with a sneak attack at Fort Colgate in the middle of the night. Arariboia rigged their walls with explosives, and at the sound of the explosion, both armies moved in. But the French were ready with a move so disgusting I'd be ostracized to eternity if I share my thoughts on it. A defeat so crushing, the game sent us to our base before it even ended. But it gave us our objective, destroying all 5 of the forts the Baguette Eaters have erected on the island. The starting base is solid, and we start expanding and training the most likely mandatory navy straight away. Because of the pathetic loss at the Shallows, the Portuguese left their gunpowder and asked us to retrieve it for them. They're ready on my visor, Mr. Colonizer. Ugh, that's bad even for me. We push and fight towards the gunpowder cart, evading and blowing up their bombers, just so the cart disappears when it comes into our hands. Mendoza unlocked 10 Cannoneers in this move, and we use this newly freed space to explore the map and our way towards the Island of Mines. In the process, our Portuguese ally confirmed our biggest fear, water game, in the shape of destroying French trade ships. While our navy is being built, we push forward in Cunhambebe's territory, a move considered by many to be stupid. But Imperial Age was upon us. A plethora of fun new technologies were queued up with the jungle scholars, and the newly built navy set sail towards the cheese folk. Some resistance initially appeared, but soon our warships were pounding on their trade routes. More technologies were queued up to strengthen our ranged attacks, and this micromanagement resulted in the navy splitting and half of it being sent to the bottom of the bay. But slowly and painfully, the trade route was disrupted, allowing us to finally fix the Portuguese cannon galleons. In an absolute first for this whole run, we decided to take the waterways toward victory, now that we had actual siege capabilities in the water. But while I may have all the techs, I still haven't learned how to build more than one dock. A long time was needed to build enough ships. Hold on, are those monkeys? Holy shit, look at them go! You gotta give it to them, the amount of flavor things they've been adding to these DLCs is amazing. Yeah, I should learn how to build more protection buildings, holy guaraci. While the navy grew, we decided to march the other pointless reason why the main assault hasn't started yet to annoy Butthole Doesn't Drink. Hey bitches, check out these units for you to waste time on. With Cunhambepe distracted, we set sail to start destroying the French docks. Because wasting resources on an army we wouldn't use wasn't enough, siege workshops were also erected. Well, that's an interesting interaction. We sailed down towards the island and began peppering their docks, while more ships were being mass-produced. The chain smokers wouldn't let me destroy their docks in peace. The audacity. But then a dock fell, and another. And then we told the Portuguese to send their cannons, and the final dock fell. Our allies showed competence and aimed straight at the forts, and we helped by blowing up the gunpowder around, because apparently gunpowder is better stored under their most important buildings. No, Mendoza, these Frenchmen don't seem to grasp the danger of the volatile compound they are using. The forts were falling like dominoes, but they still had 3 docks left producing ships. This was the biggest threat to the Portuguese cannons, especially now that they had been distracted by literally everything else. Please, you dumbasses, the barracks don't matter. They refused to move on, so we made the decision to take down their docks by ourselves to reduce risk. More of our ships kept arriving at the bombing of the island. If the Portuguese wouldn't get their shit together, we would have to do it ourselves, regardless of how painfully slow. At some point, they woke up, and the 4th fort fell. Victory was within inches of our hands, and as the ships approached the final French fort, it started crumbling, and the Nicholas dumbass threw in the towel. Another glorious victory for the Cursed Alliance, in 1 hour and 5 seconds. Another scenario where the time could be cut in half if I just focused instead of messing around. The win at Fort Colgate lifted the morale of the Alliance, but the war was far from over. The French had now set their sights on the marvelous city, Rio de Janeiro. In a swift move, we captured Cunhambebe's closest village and began expanding it. Reinforcements were on the way to Rio, and the objective became protecting the city at all costs. A castle right in the middle of the city was ordered, both for maximum protection and because I like to imagine that the Tupi just erected a huge wooden fort in the middle of the city. But at some point, it was overrun by the favelas. Because the city sits on a bay, we were smart enough to start building ships almost immediately, and now that Mendoza told us to send our canoes, I kinda feel that we shouldn't. Does this look like a fucking canoe? The purple sphincter wasted no time in attacking us, and we definitely weren't ready for it. But the attack was repelled. The French were sending ships non-stop, but luckily the tower I tried building served as a good distraction until reinforcements arrived. Then Butthole Doesn't Drink raided me again. Aha! So this is where the gun problem in Rio started. Heavy losses were sustained on our side, but we're Brazilians. Life as a whole is sustained losses. We managed to scrape by enough stone to build our wooden castle, and now at least the western flank was secured. Some of our soldiers got a bit daring and started raiding the French farms by themselves. And you know, when life gives you lemons, use half to rub on your enemy's eyes. Why only half, you may ask? Well, you need some left for the caipirinhas. Yes, it's time for the useless piece of information of the video because I don't want to narrate more shitty enemy attacks. Squeeze 3 limes in a tall glass, add 2 spoons of brown sugar, fill it with ice, and, if you're over 18, otherwise close your ears, top it with cachaça or vodka. There's nothing better to drink while you sit at the beach watching your fellow soldiers sink enemy ships. Speaking of ships, the French supplied their army through the bay, so we were given the task of building a fort on a solitary island to disrupt the route. But first, we had to secure the other entrance to our base from dickhead attacks. Just as the French arrived with their cannons, the Portuguese reinforcements arrived, and we were gifted rifles, just in time for us to build the island fort. Sa also asked us to raid the Bay of the French, which looks like a pain in the ass, but at least they brought cannons to help. While we followed their navy around, a villager was sent to the island to build a fort. Jesus, like dropping a penny in a synagogue. But again, our people were used to running around as alligator bait, and after pulling them to a corner, we sailed to the other side and started building the castle. Sadly, the villager was on her period, and the lizard could smell it. While we prepared the solution, the navy was making good progress with the French navy, even with their scary bomber towers. We sent some troops to escort the villager, but just like the favelas, when you kill one alligator, 10 more appear. I feel a bit dirty shitty on the favelas as much as I do here. It's not really the fault of the people living there. We got colonized by the most incompetent of the colonial powers. Fort on the island was nicely built, the French navy neutralized, and with our own riflemen being trained, the gang wars were within a matter of time. And with siege units on the horizon, it was time to start putting the Kunambebes inside tires and lighting them on fire. Amassing ranged units with Tupi is a lot more fun than I could have expected, and this is as historically accurate as it gets for Rio. Butthole Doesn't Drink had no way to defend himself from the onslaught of poison arrows and lead, but with a bit of help from the game's pathfinding, we found ourselves losing a considerable amount of units and having to retreat for reinforcements. Which worked in our favor beautifully, as defeating the French navy pushed our allies to dismantle their cannon galleons and to give us some bombards. With siege units primed and ready, we pushed once again into the cannibal gang, and this time, none of their efforts mattered. Buildings were tumbling with furious speed, bodies rotten with the poison of the jungle frogs, and Kunambebes being defeated one last time. He muttered a desperate thought of killing me when he had the chance, while I left, riding my armored vehicles next to my rifle battalion. The French were next. Our allies were already bombing their outer forts, and even though we arrived a bit late to help, the outer defenses were raised. Durand had the lame-ass advantage of infinite resources, so pushing into their base was no easy task. Even with a strong army composition, defending the cannons was a challenge, and by the time we arrived at the gates, the army was virtually gone. Good thing we had another one on the way. Aw, how I miss gate mosh pits. Fighting against an infinite span of units is a pain in the ass, but despite the Terek flashbacks, we were making good, if slow, progress inside their camp. It wasn't enough to take down their castle, which apparently was a double castle, but at least now we knew what was waiting for us in the Camembert Cove of Evil. Yet another wave of Blackwood Archers pushed in, followed by the Rams, and this time they couldn't train soldiers fast enough, and down the double castle went. All was lost for Nicolas Durand and the French garrison, but we still had to clear the rest of the map from their production buildings, their town center, and their other town center. Durand was eliminated, and Rio secured, signaling the end of the Battle of Rio de Janeiro, in 1 hour, 19 minutes and 39 seconds. I wonder what would have happened if we just bum-rushed Durand. I think this could have been finished a lot quicker. And thus concludes the first chapter of Stories of the Jungle Favela Warfare against the French, in a horrifying time of 5 hours, 52 minutes and 11 seconds. I'm not apologizing for it at all. I was out of practice and followed my original rules. It's probably in the bottom 3 times so far. Anyway, the total time stands at, and the masses have spoken, the next chapter of Stories of the Jungle is the Muisca, El Dorado, or how the only gold the Spanish found were these golden nuts.